It's the French car company with an Italian name that was started in Germany. The creators of 16-cylinder quad-turbo beasts that go almost 300 miles an hour. The most powerful patron. This badge died twice and was resurrected twice. This is everything you need to know to get up to speed on Bugatti. I woke up in a new Bugatti. Actually, it would be cooler to wake up in an old Bugatti because they're worth like $16 million. The Bugattis that we all know, the Veyron and the Chiron, are unbelievably sick. They're pieces of art. But did you know that most of the coolest things about Bugatti happened almost 100 years ago? We're gonna talk about the new Bugattis, including a secret special edition coming out this month. But to understand Bugatti as a company, you have to understand the man behind the brand. Ettore Arca Isidoro Bugatti was born in Milan, Italy in 1881 into an artistic family. His father, Carlo, was an internationally acclaimed silverware, jewelry, and furniture designer. He made this chair. His younger brother, Rembrandt Bugatti, was an accomplished animal sculptor. He made this lion. His grandpa, Giovanni Luigi Bugatti, was a successful architect and sculptor. He made dope buildings. Ettore was a creative kid, but he had his eye on something other than art. Babbo, I don't want to make the chairs. The chairs, they are boring to me. Ah, that's okay. And I don't want to make the lions. The lions, they are boring. Ah, that's fine. You do what make you happy. The cars, Babbo. The cars, they make me happy. Then the cars are what you're gonna make. Now here, have some wine. I love the wine, Papa. You're 5 years old. It's a time for the wine. Ettore's dad was super supportive, and in 1898 he hooked him up with an apprenticeship at Prinetti and Stucchi, a company based out of Ettore's hometown of Milan. They had recently pivoted from making sewing machines and bicycles to making motorized tricycles and quadricycles, which I'm assuming is just an old-timey name for a car. It was at Prinetti and Stucchi that Bugatti began tinkering with one of their existing one-cylinder tricycles. Bugatti added another engine to it and called it the Bugatti Tipo Uno, or Type 1. He entered into local races and immediately he started winning. The Type 1 was an amazing achievement, especially for a frickin' 17-year-old. I mean, who is this guy, Billie Eilish? But it would be Ettore's next project that would define his legacy. The year is 1900. Ettore develops and builds the Type 2 with help from his good friend and totally not a vampire, Count Giulianelli. The Count saw a lot of talent and probably fresh blood in Ettore and backed him from an early age. This new design had a 3.1 liter inline 4-cylinder engine and could go 37 miles per, which was pretty fast back in them's olden times. Ettore entered the Type 2 in the Milan Trade Fair, and sure enough, it won an award. All that trade fair buzz attracted the attention of a man who owned an industrial firm, Baron de Dietrich.
That guy totally sounds like a vampire too, so.
He offered the then 20-year-old Ettore the job of technical director at his plant. The factory was located in Niederbronn, a town in the province of Alsace on the French and German border. This territory was historically disputed and had been claimed by Germany since the Franco-Prussian War ended in 1871. Anyway, the de Dietrich plant got to producing Type 2 cars based off of Bugatti's design. Over the next couple years, Ettore developed the 12.9 liter Type 5 as well as the Type 6 and 7 under the de Dietrich Bugatti marquee. After he got bored with that, he started working at the Deutz Motor Company based out of Cologne, Germany, where Bugatti designed the Type 8 and Type 9 cars. Very good at designing cars, kind of lazy with naming them. Ettore was an amazing designer and engineer, and he wanted nothing more than to start his own car company. So he began building a powerful, lightweight automobile in his own basement. In 1909, he finished the prototype named the Type 10, aka Le Petit Person, French for the small thoroughbred. Literally a tiny bus horse. Okay, there's one thing that you need to know about Ettore Bugatti. The dude freaking loved horses, not just buffed horses, he loved all types. Prancy boys, long-haired trotters, macaroni ponies, all of them. Later in life, he even made the Bugatti factory halls big enough so he could ride around on his horse, and he designed the doors in the factory so that horses could open them with their noses. Imagine that. I roll into Donut on a well-behaved buff horse, and they just open the garage door, and I ride my horse straight to my desk. And if anyone tries to talk to me before I've had my cold brew and my horse has had their oats, he just kicks them away. With his new prototype finished and ready to go, Bugatti ended his contract with Deutz. Another project, 9 months in the making, had just wrapped up. Ettore's wife, Barbara, had given birth to their son, Jean. Ettore took the severance pay from his Deutz job and bought a dyeworks factory in the city of Molsheim back in Alsace. Automobiles e Bugatti, she was born! The first official Bugatti production car was the Type 13. Its engine was a 1.4 liter inline four that made about 30 horsepower. More than enough for a car that weighed 660 pounds. Customers could choose from an angled grille or an egg-shaped grille until 1912, when Bugatti switched to only the egg-shaped grills, a characteristic that would become one of their defining features to this day. A Type 13 was entered into the 1911 Grand Prix at Le Mans. It looked much smaller than its thick boy competitors, but ended up surprising everyone and took second place. Bugatti was up and running, producing their own cars. One of the cooler cars at this time was the Type 18 Black Bess, a slick, gold-accented two-seater powered by a 5-liter, 4-cylinder engine. The Black Bess was one of the world's first street-legal race cars and could do 100 miles an hour in 1912. That's freaking crazy. Ettore also designed a cute little car for Peugeot called the Bébé. Bonjour, le bébé. Je m'appelle Black Bass! But right as business started ramping up, something wicked came knocking at the door.
Hello?
Hey, it's me, the Great War.
Yes?
Yeah, we need you to stop making cars and help us win the war.
Okay.
And so Bugatti was forced to drop everything and help with the war effort. Ettore and his family moved back to Milan, then to Paris, where he developed 8 and 16-cylinder plane engines. After the war had ended, Bugatti returned to Molsheim to find out that it wasn't part of Germany anymore. The Alsace region now belonged to France, so his factory was now in France. Bugattis from this point on would be painted French racing blue. The British had green. The Germans, they got silver. The French had this blue. It's beautiful. Business started picking up for the company like right after the war ended. Bugatti's first major success was the new Type 13S, which had resumed production in 1919. The cars were updated with 4 valves per cylinder instead of 2, making it the first full production multi-valve car ever made. The Type 13 won the Grand Prix de la Sarthe at Le Mans in 1920, and the next year at the Brescia Grand Prix, Bugattis took first, second, third, and fourth places. This earned the Type 13s the nickname
Precious.
There were a ton of cool Bugattis produced around this time, like the Type 29 Cigar, the Type 32 Tank, which introduced aerodynamics to racing, and maybe the most important Bugatti of all time, the Type 35. This car, and I am not being over dramatic, is the most successful racing car ever. It has over 2,000 victories and podium spots in the 10 years that it raced. At the height of the Type 35 success, they averaged 14 race wins a week. It was a 2-liter inline 8 with a single overhead cam and a unique set of bearings that had never been seen before. The thing could rev to 6,000 RPMs. Ettore saw no value in a heavy car, so he did whatever he could to cut down on weight. He created a hollow, forged front axle with sealed ends that drastically cut pounds while also making handling better. The Type 35 raced well on the road, but it could also scoot in the dirt. Bugatti entered a Type 35 in the Targa Florio, a grueling race around a Sicilian mountain that had a history of destroying cars. People thought that the stripped down lightweight 35 was gonna fall apart. There's no way that stripped down Type of 35 is gonna last. he's a little puny car. He's gonna slip off the mountain, and we gonna have to bring him to the graveyard. The Bugatti driver didn't go to the graveyard. He went to the podium, baby, to grab his first place medal, baby. That was in 1925. Bugattis won the next year in 26 and in 27, 28 and 29. The driver for the last 2 years was Albert Devo. I would remember that guy's name, because I think his part gonna come up later. You guys are here every week too, but you never chime in. The technology in Bugatti's cars was unlike any other car at the time. Nothing could touch my man. Commercially, the badge had become a sign of luxury, wealth, and power, just like a donut shirt that you can get at donutmedia.com. With all that came a bit of criticism from the clientele, but Ettore took it lightly. He believed his cars were pieces of art. When a customer complained that his Bugatti didn't cold start well, Ettore replied, "You can afford a Type of 35, you can afford a heated garage." And when another customer explained that the brakes didn't work, Ettore clapped back, "I'm making my cars to go, not to stop." Sales were booming throughout the 20s, and Bugatti was making disgusting amounts of money. But unlike that snake-ass Jeff Bezos, he looked after his workers well. The factory expanded and workers were generously compensated. Continued sales of the Type 35, as well as touring cars like the Type 44 and wildly successful Type 40, drove Automobile's Bugatti to the top. Ettore started getting more elegant and radical with his designs. He was obsessed with creating the ultimate vehicle. His Type 41 model, nicknamed the Royale with Cheese, was a 12.7 liter behemoth with ridiculous proportions. It was like the Jessica Rabbit of cars. The 41 was adorned with an elephant hood ornament as a tribute to Ettore's brother Rembrandt. The first Type 41 sold for 700,000 francs in 1932. I can't even find a converter to figure out how much money that would be today. So hit me up in the comments if you're a time traveling accountant and tell me how much money that would be today. And while you're at it, hit the like button. Ettore's son, Jean, who had become the head of the racing and design team at Bugatti, started developing cars of his own. His Type 57 SC Atlantic is still one of the coolest cars ever made. The original design was to have a magnesium body, which was a hard metal to weld back then. So the two halves were riveted together, and that's why you got that fin. These cars might have been technically brilliant, but the timing of their release couldn't have been any more dumb. A worldwide economic depression in the 1930s meant that people were buying fewer and fewer cars. This was the first sign that Bugatti's luck was running out. In 1939, Ettore's son Jean was testing a Type 57 tank-bodied racer, which just won at Le Mans, when he lost control and crashed. The accident killed the 30-year-old. And the messed up part about it was that he was testing the car on a closed track, but a cyclist had gotten in through a hole in the fence. Jean swerved to avoid the bike rider and ran into a tree. Then, in the first months of World War II, the Bugatti factory was destroyed and Ettore lost control of the property because the Germans were like, "Yo, you need to sell us this property?" And he had no say in it. Soon after, his wife Barbara passed away, and in 1947, Ettore Bugatti became seriously ill with a lung infection. He spent 2 months in an American hospital in Paris, and on August 21st, 1947, Ettore Arco Isidoro Bugatti passed away. Now, Ettore was known as a generous, self-deprecating perfectionist. He knew every one of his employees' names and chatted with them on the production floor daily. Some of Bugatti's money problems could have been solved if he cut workers or their pay, but that was completely out of the question for Ettore. He rewarded loyalty with loyalty. Ettore's youngest son, Roland, took over at Bugatti and even designed a new model in 1951, the 101. But the nail in the coffin for the company was a new system the French adopted called the tax horsepower system. Ugh! The higher horsepower, the more money the driver had to cough up in taxes. Ugh! That's why there aren't any cool French cars anymore. So for a company that made really powerful cars, this was a big problem. The original Bugatti trademark went under in 1956. Modern day Bugatti started when an Italian entrepreneur by the name of Roman Artioli bought the brand in 1987, and in 1991, 4 years before Post Malone was born, they released the EB110. It debuted exactly 110 years after Ettore Bugatti was born. The new car had a very modern look, but maintained the essence of what Bugatti stood for in the early 1900s. It had a 60 valve? Jesus. It had a 6D valve quad turbocharged V12 making 553 horsepower, permanent all-wheel drive, active aero, and the world's first carbon fiber monocoque chassis on a production car. The EB110 Super Sport was better. It was 330 pounds lighter, had 50 more buff horses, and could get up to 221 miles per. It looked like things might actually work out, but then another economic recession hit. A poor decision to buy Lotus and a few other financial mistakes led the company to bankruptcy in '95, the same year that Post Malone was born. A few years later, in 1998, VW bought the troubled brand for an estimated $50 million. This is a huge deal because that same year, VW also bought Lamborghini, Bentley, and Rolls-Royce, all to better compete with BMW. Their first production vehicle to come out was the Veyron, which was released in 2005 after 7 years of development. The car was named after Pierre Veyron, a Le Mans winning Bugatti driver from the 1930s, and it was made in the city that the original Bugatti factory was in, Molsheim. In a time when car manufacturers were going green and boosting fuel efficiency, Bugatti debuted an 8-liter quad turbocharged 16-cylinder screaming piece of art. The huge W16 mill put out 987 horsepower and hit 253 miles per, which made it the fastest production car in the world. The brake discs are made from carbon fiber reinforced silicon carbide, which is just a way cooler way of saying carbon ceramic. The quad turbos suck in 45,000 liters of air every minute. VW meant to push limits with this new Bugatti, and push limits they did. There's some cool special editions as well. There's a 16.4 Super Sport, which has 200 more horsepower than the stock Veyron, and set the world record for fastest street legal production car at 268 miles per hour. That's just irresponsible. Then there's the Black Bess, an homage to the original Black Bess of the early 1900s and direct ancestor of the Veyron. This thing has real 24-karat gold accents and little drawings of the original Bess on the inside of the door panels. VW's next venture with the Bugatti badge was the Chiron, not to be confused with John Cerrone, who works at Donut. The Chiron debuted in 2016 and got its name from the French Grand Prix winning Bugatti driver Louis Chiron. The Chiron has a heavily updated version of the Veyron engine. The W16 puts out a stupid 1,479 horsepower. You like torque? Well, it's got 1,180 pounds of them. And it goes 0 to 60 in 2.4 seconds. And it's electronically limited because no tire in the world can handle the theoretical top speed. They even came out with an updated version of the Bugatti Royale, but it never made it past the concept phase. Bummer, because it looks really tight and it would look great parked next to my Golf. Last year, Bugatti unveiled their newest creation, the Divo. See? I told all you guys that that man's name would pop up again. My dude. The Divo is a 1,500 horsepower robot. Humans are amazing. We make these machines that we control with all of our limbs that go 300 miles per hour. All 4 limbs at one time, like a dang mech suit. Word on the street is that Bugatti's going to unveil a new special edition Divo at the upcoming Monterey Car Week. I'm not sure what it's gonna be, but 2019 marks the 110th anniversary of the Bugatti badge, so I'm guessing it's gonna be really powerful and really cool.